With an important general election on the horizon, I interviewed incumbent MP Gavin Newlands to get a picture of his goals and beliefs going into the next election. So, to start the interview, could you provide a brief introduction about yourself and your background?
Sure, I'm Gavin Newlands. I'm I'm mid 40s now.
Oh.
So 44-year-old, father of two daughters, wife of Lynn. Um, God, we've been out with my wife for nearly, in fact, a quarter of a century now. So that's something. Long suffering St Johnstone fan, played rugby for 17 years, and prior to becoming elected in 2015, for my sins, worked for McDonald's for 17 years in a variety of roles, including business manager and business analyst, but originally just a part-time crew member, then shift runner, etc., etc.
What motivated you to enter politics and put yourself forward as a candidate in the 2015 general election?
Well, a few things. I mean, I have essentially most of my adult life, or sort of almost all my adult life, and a lot of my childhood have been involved in politics and political activism. My dad, I was out campaigning with my dad for the SNP and for other causes when I was at the poll tax demonstrations back in George Square, back when I was 9, 10 years old, or something like that, at Ravenscraig, out for the SNP, out handing leaflets, etc. I joined the SNP, or the YSN, Young Scottish Nationalists, when I was 12 years old. Never really at any point, though, throughout all of that, did I ever think that I would stand for election. Obviously, with the independence referendum, and then which was obviously crushing for those of us who have, particularly those who've campaigned for a long time for independence. But then there was the kind of uprising, the sweat, kind of the groundswell, as it were, for the SNP thereafter, and we had to find candidates for the election. And to be honest with you, I won't say the person's name for fear of embarrassing, but it wasn't going to be me. A number of us tried to persuade somebody else who we thought would be the perfect candidate for the seat. He in the end chose not to do it, and a number of folk asked me if I would put myself forward.
To move on to local issues, what do you believe are the most pressing issues currently facing this constituency, and how do you plan to bring these issues forward?
In many ways, in this constituency, we're um, fortunate in the sense that there's a lot of jobs in the constituency between the Hillington, the vast majority of Hillington, which is Scotland's biggest industrial estates, in my constituency. We've got Braehead, which is Scotland's biggest retail and entertainment kind of site. We've got Glasgow Airport, we've got in Shannon with Rolls Royce and Peak Scientific and Thermo Fisher and all those guys. So we're quite lucky in that sense in Paisley and Renfrewshire North. However, what we suffer from is similar to many other places. Some of our town centres and what have you. Renfrew itself, which we're in, is certainly pretty good compared to a lot of town centres in terms of the lack of empty shops, for want of a better phrase. Obviously, Paisley still has those issues. To me, we're really lacking capital investment. The main local issue that I would like to see reversed in something that, unless Labour changes tune, it's something that, again, no matter how much we push, it might have to wait for independence. Now, we've put a number of bids to this so-called Levelling Up Fund and what have you, and so we were fortunate to win some money in the first round of it. So we've got the Hamid South scheme, so you've got the Advanced Manufacturing District by the airport. So to connect all of that up to Paisley Town Centre, there's an Hamid South scheme, which means there's going to be a new road bridge over the Cart, a whole new kind of active travel and road and kind of road vehicle corridor, etc. And then that will marry into the back of the new Paisley Grammar School as well. So that's the type of investment we need, but that can't be once a blue moon. We have to have that much more consistently to improve the local area.
So, although it's more costly in the short term, in the long term, the benefits can be huge.
Absolutely.
Investment.
You look at. I mean, I'm on a transport select committee, and we've been doing a lot of talk about the Green Book, and this is. I won't get into the weeds of this, but essentially, it's about how you appraise projects, infrastructure projects, or what have you. I mean, for years and years, if you had a project in London or South East, it was going to score highly because it's already linked up with many other things and because of the economic activity that's there. And if you could have the same project, but instead of being in the middle or on the outskirts of London, it was on the outskirts of Middlesbrough in the northeast of England, for instance. It could be exactly the same project, would deliver exactly the same value to the local economy or local jobs and whatever else, but still be scored less than the London one. So that's why you always saw projects go ahead in London and they would never go ahead anywhere else. It's something we've come too late to, but it's something that we need to put more money into if we really want to do it properly. I would love us to be able to be bolder in so many of these areas, but again, I want to go back to it, but UK government controls the purse strings, other than the wee bit extra tax that we do raise, which we need to raise to try and keep public services safe. But if they keep cutting capital, then the Scottish Government's hands are tied without the powers to borrow any more money for capital investment.
One thing that I always hear from many politicians is the importance of youth engagement. On the topic of that, will engaging with younger voters be a significant part of your campaign?
Well, if at all possible, absolutely it will be. I usually take part in a debate in Trinity High School just round the corner, which is where I went to school, and a citizenship day. There we go. I couldn't remember the name of it. Citizenship Day debate, which is usually great fun, and it's good to see how engaged they always are. I was looking forward to doing the Citizenship Day debate where my daughter would be present, but sadly they asked another SNP parliamentarian to go this year, so I was really gutted because I was looking forward to embarrassing my daughter. That's a father's job, surely, you know what I mean? So my view is independence will be a massive boost for the country, but the folk that will see the real benefits of independence are the younger generations. I'm 44, I'm sure I'll see benefits in my lifetime, but the real benefits are for my children and their children. That's who will see the benefits if we were to win independence in the next few years.
What are some ways younger voters who are interested in politics can get involved?
Well, ideally, you can come campaign for me. That would be great. But for younger generations, clearly a lot more of politics is now in the social media world. And as somebody who's still not great on Instagram, let alone even thinking about trying to go on TikTok, because I'm still in the Twitter and Facebook world. Even I took them up late as well. That being said, clearly there's a lot still going on out there. There's a lot going on Instagram, TikTok that I'm not familiar as I should be, to be perfectly honest. So there's a lot of politics and a lot of political discussion online that they can certainly take part in. But what I would say is politicians and younger generations don't really think that face-to-face communication when it comes to politics is their thing, perhaps, and essentially it stays usually in the online realm. But to be honest, lots of folk are not in the online realm. The vast majority of people are not there. The vast majority of people don't know these debates are being had on social media, and that's why we go out and knock thousands and thousands and thousands of doors. I think we're finding that less people are willing to go out and do that work and speak to people than we used to have. But even back in 2014-15, those campaigns were absolutely chock full of young folk. I mean, if you look at pictures of the 2014 campaign, they were extremely busy, and to some degree both sides, but particularly the yes side, there was so much youth engagement. I mean, obviously the interest in politics since the independence referendum amongst the young has grown exponentially.
Well, to finish off, do you believe the upcoming general election will be one of the most important elections in recent history, and if so, why?
Always, every election comes around, we always say this is the most important election in history. In reality, it's the most important election since the last one. I would say it's certainly a lot more important than the last one, simply because the Tories have been in for another 5 years and have essentially wrought so much economic destruction through Brexit and continued austerity, and just essentially shutting down our horizons, so we need to get rid of the Tories. So that's why one reason this election is crucial. However, that being said, we need to see a Labour Party that has ambition. There's no point in Labour talking about change. Almost all of us agree we need change, but obviously with that change, we need to make sure we've got a strong Scottish voice at Westminster. But on lots of issues that affect Scotland, Labour MPs have abstained. And that's the issue. If we send just lots of Labour MPs down to Westminster, where's Scotland going to be? Where's it going to be on the agenda? The answer is not very high. So whilst we absolutely need change, at number 10, we need to make sure that we've got a strong Scottish voice there to push independence, but just to make sure Scotland's high up the agenda as well.